an organization, a corporate, with others. And in the case of our business, it lies with two judges: our internal customers and our external customers. And I'll quickly define those. Internal customers, anyone that you come in contact with from the telephone company of this company, be they managers, be they peers, regardless. Those are internal customers. External customers, obviously the ones that we call upon and transact our sales business with. They are the judges of your integrity. Just because you said you got it, don't mean it. Okay? Now, we'll get back to that in a moment as far as whose opinion really counts. Some schools of psychology say that human emotion is comprised of 4 components, and 4 components only. At any given point in time, what we feel is a combination of, or a standalone of, being mad, glad, sad, or scared. At any point in time, what you're feeling is represented by one of or more of those concepts. Now the trick here is, and we all go through life becoming tricksters real well, we can feel a certain way inside, but we can project our feelings to other people in a very different way. Hypothetical situation. Jennifer walks in on her 2nd day of being in the field now, and she's got $1,000 in sales net. And I jump up and down because I'm all excited for her. And I see a great big smile on her face, and I'm saying, mad, glad, sad, or scared? I'd say Jennifer's glad. Jennifer's glad. How do I know that she, in fact, may have inadequately prepared her accounts, and only Jennifer and her customers know that today should have been a $2,000 sales net day, that she left $1,000 on the table by not having done her job correctly? So although I'm glad and Jennifer, I think, is glad, she may be real sad. Matter of fact, she might be downright mad inside. The idea here is that my perception of what she's doing, what she's thinking, is based on what I see and what she allows me to see. The same thing holds true with issues like integrity. What you see is not necessarily what you get. Excuse me. Integrity, as mad, glad, sad, and scared, are components of emotion, is one of the 4 components of character, an individual's character. Now, it's a very subjective thing. And, well, let me just check something here real quick. As a manager, I'm charged with a responsibility. I'm charged with a set of responsibilities. One is obviously the development and the refinement of the sales skills that each of you have begun the process of learning and developing here, and to carry that forth through the rest of your careers. I'm also charged with a greater set of responsibilities, and that is developing the next generation of management for this organization. And doing that involves the molding and reshaping of certain personal characteristics of individuals, hopefully building upon what we have, and rather than trying to alter. But with the responsibility of developing the next level of managers, it's imperative that myself and people in my position impart to each of you ideals. Now, the speed of the leader determines the rate of the pack. You may have heard that before. It's something that I didn't come up with. But I could talk all day about good behavior, bad behavior, ethical practices, unethical practices, and then I could be a lying, cheating, stealing crook. And what I have to say isn't really going to hold any water, because you're going to do what I allow, and you're going to do what you allow from yourself. So as a manager, from day one, there are 4 character issues which are mandates, which are non-negotiable, that become a part of every person that I interact with. And really and truthfully, that everybody within this organization interacts with, and they may not be brought to your attention specifically in this fashion, but you'll see them when you get back to where you're coming from. And let me hand something out to you, and we'll talk about it. While I'm handing this out, I'm going to mention that there's a philosophy that I stand behind very strongly, and that is, if you do today as you did yesterday, you can expect results no different from that which you've already achieved. Huh? There you go. You can hand those out back there. Okay, now what does that mean in English? You all said you could read and write English. Let me see if I could translate that. What it means is this. If you are absolutely, positively, 100% unequivocally satisfied with everything exactly the way it is, don't ever change a thing. However, if you are interested in growth, development, enhancement of your own capabilities and potential, every day you're going to redial in. You're going to tinker with your own subtle nuances that make up bits and pieces of you. So, as the first step to doing something different, you've been inundated with acronyms up to this point. You've got BLNs, you've got Rascal factors, you've got RASPy this and RIPSky that. You've got a lot of acronyms to deal with. Well, I've got a new one for you, and it's on page 2. And here's your new philosophy, something to carry back with you. The me I was now has died. Whoa, that's some strong stuff. I'm not here to kill anybody's character or suggest that anybody do anything to alter things dramatically. What I am suggesting, though, is that the 4 components of character that we're going to talk about here, each of you personally focus on. The first one, the first D, and fill it in, please, dignity. Somebody need a Crayola, or we got it covered back there? Okay. Second one, yes, the I does stand for integrity. Third one, ethics. And the fourth one, discipline. Dignity, integrity, ethics, and discipline. These 4 character components, if put together with the right blend and kept in check constantly, will allow you to literally do whatever it is you want to with your career in this organization and take it as far as you want to. 3 of these points are very easy to define and explain and give examples for. Dignity. Dignity in this business is when the inevitable happens and you have a bad day. You could do 2 things. You could bring your bad news back into your environment, and you can pollute that environment and play ain't it awful with everybody around you. I just took a beating today. Oh, life is terrible. But a person with dignity holds their head high, shakes it off, says another day in the ad game. Ethics. I had a customer, true story, I had a customer offer me $200,000 to tell him what a competitor of his did in an upcoming directory. True story. Cash. $200,000. Ethics says no. You know it's not the rule. Correct? Everybody knows that. You with me? Head nods. Here we go. Okay, we got head nods. $200,000. Tell him what was going on. Ethics says no. I mean, stop and think about it. You make $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year. That's what, 2.5 years worth of earnings. I'm 18 years old, and my career's, no, you got a lot of money that you can earn in this organization, as well as the satisfaction of a career. Don't sell out. That's what the ethics part is. Discipline, one of the favorites. Discipline, simply put, is what separates the winners from the also-rans. See, a winner will do something that a loser won't. They'll do that one something extra. Also-ran won't. They may make one extra call that day. They may sit through one extra objection. Check that paperwork one more time. But it takes discipline to do that when you want to go home, when you're tired, when maybe you aren't feeling that good. And there's the discipline factor. So we've covered dignity, ethics, and discipline. What remains? What remains? Integrity. Yes, yes. Integrity is a very subjective thing. It's culture-driven. The culture of the organization that you're a part of. And I'm not talking about necessarily a company. Possibly the integrity of an athletic team you might play on. Hey, the Oakland Raiders were famous for being the kind of the dirty guys on the football field, but that was an integrity factor that they dealt with and sort of took pride in being a little bit more rough and tumble than others. Integrity in Beirut right now may mean being the best shot with a rocket. Don't know. But integrity is very much a byproduct and driven by the culture that one is a part of. It's very subjective. But as we talked about before, who's the real judge of integrity? Not us. We are not the judges of it, but it's the people and other organizations that we interact with that stand in judgment. You know, during IST, if you feel at all, as I did way back when, sort of like you had a hole drilled in the top of your head, a funnel screwed in it, everything flushed out, and then had it refilled. It's a bit of an overwhelming experience. Just what you need. One more concept to have to deal with here, huh? You almost feel at times, too, that you sat through your blue policy issues. You sat through pink policy issues. You were exposed to green policy issues. How many more colors of the rainbow are there? You're covered with do's and don'ts, rules and regulations, this, that, and the other thing. If you feel at all as I did, it's almost that you kind of have no influence over your environment, really, but your environment is doing just about everything to influence you and change you and mold you and alter you. Well, let me tell you something. The environment that we work in, that we live in, and that we hopefully get to come back to tomorrow is an environment that's a culture that is us. Like I said earlier, the company is us. It's we the people. And the culture and the environment is what we make of it. Now, if you don't think that you have any power to influence, you're absolutely wrong. When you see an individual who may have faltering dignity on one of those bad days, you can do a couple of Ain't It Awful game. You can say, oh, you think you had it bad. You think you lost a lot of money. You ain't seen nothing yet. Anybody ever familiar with that Monty Python skit that took place where, well, my family lived in a mud hole. Oh, you had a mud hole? We didn't even have mud. Now, that's the game of Ain't It Awful. All right? We had to sleep under newspaper in the rain. You had newspaper? We just had to sleep in the rain itself. That's the game of Ain't It Awful. You could be a party to that if you want to. Or you can control your environment and say, oh, so what? So what? It's one day in a pay period. You got 10 days. We live in a world of pay periods, so don't worry about it. Shake it off. Go make something good happen now. There's a way to control your environment. Or how about something unethical going on? You suddenly overhear a peer. Oh, you want the upper left-hand corner? Baby, you got it. You got it. All you got to do is buy this particular ad and you can pick your spot in the book. Doesn't fly, does it? Does it? No. Okay, thank you. Whew. You were right. I didn't point to anybody in particular. Excuse me. Understand something. Just because you're new with this business doesn't mean you don't have power. You have a tremendous amount of power. You have the power to change the face of this corporation. And the face of this corporation is that which we show the people that we deal with. The integrity level that you carry out to your customers, the truth or the lack of truth that you impart, the mercenary way that an individual in a moment of desperation might attempt to make something happen, it's not worth it. You know, I could have walked in here and said, well, you know, Webster defines integrity as... I'm not going to do that. I'll tell you what integrity or lack of integrity is in 3 simple words. Lack of integrity is lying, cheating, and stealing. Okay? You all understand the English language. You all understand those 3 words. And let me tell you about lying, cheating, and stealing. About 4 years ago, I was on a ferry boat in the middle of the Mediterranean going from Spain to Morocco on a travel incentive trip, and I ran into a DSM that I knew who an extremely good friend of mine was working for. And I knew that this friend of mine hadn't made the travel incentive trip, so I asked the DSM how they were doing. And I was told that this friend of mine was terminated the Friday before the trip. Well, needless to say, I was shocked. Why was the representative terminated? Does anybody know what a box count is? A box count is when you tally the number of contacts that you have and the amount of remaining revenue that you have in your territory before you complete your canvas or your assignment that you have. This representative, plain and simple, lied when he gave his box count to his manager, who then passed the information on to their manager, who passed it on to his vice president, and on up the ladder as to the status of that particular canvas. The representative had indicated that there were 26 accounts left for X number of dollars. And there was one more pay period of 10 days to go. After the 5th day, this representative had already turned in over 40 accounts. And upon investigation, it was determined that the representative flat out lied. Now, it wasn't that the offense was so great. So there were a few more accounts than what the representative, but that's not the point. The point was, what credibility did this individual have anymore if they would lie about an issue that is as seemingly small as that? That credibility factor could not be maintained in this organization because of a situation like that. My friend was let go. Cheating. As a fairly new sales representative in Florida, in Tampa, I think we have somebody from Tampa right around over there. Say hi to everybody. As a fairly new, one of the things that you'll find yourself doing as well is you'll identify people who you'll look up to, who will be role models for you. Ideally, they are people that represent all of the good qualities that we talk about. And they're also typically high-producing individuals. There was a fellow, a very high-producing individual, who served as a role model for me. I mean, I watched everything he did. He was a quiet kind of guy, sort of kept to himself, which I guess is a good quality because people that focus on what it is that they have to do usually get it. And one day, we were all called in by the division manager, and an announcement was made that this person, who had 10 years with this company, was terminated. I mean, as a new kid on the block, I was flabbergasted by it. We asked what happened, and it was real simple. The fellow had taken a contract, a signed and completed contract, and for whatever reason, added a couple more things to it. penciled in a couple more items, maybe plugged himself with $30 or $40 more in sales net. Blew off a multi-million-dollar career for 30 bucks. He sold out. He sold out. That's cheating. Stealing? Within the past year, I heard a story, no, a manager for falsifying a time and expense report, picking up 20 or 30, 100 extra bucks, lying, cheating, and in this case, stealing. So at $50,000, $60,000 a year, or roughly $250,000, and that's just in income. That has nothing to do with all the other benefits. You can sell yourself out. You can sell out the organization. You can send your integrity down the road. These are real-world examples of people just like you and I that did dumb stuff. And if you can leave this room remembering nothing else but the idiocy of moves like that and the compromise of this personal integrity. Hey, if I said to any one of those people, hey, you got integrity? They'd say, yeah, you bet I do. Maybe they do. Maybe their integrity says that they are the best liar, the best cheat, and the best thief in this business. But they ain't going to stay in my club. And anybody that wants to be a part of this is going to have to make choices. I don't know if you've had an opportunity during the course of this IST session to talk about choices. If not, I'm going to take this moment to do it. You all made the choice to be here. You all made the choice to sit through 5 weeks of this. Can you believe it? And you all lived. But you made that choice. You made the choice to study, sometimes, to learn your paperwork, to learn your items of advertising, to pay your dues here. It hasn't been easy. I know it. Training knows it. Your DSMs know it. So now what are you going to do? You're going to go back and take that 5 weeks worth of investment and you're going to carry it forward into something productive, something that you can be proud of, something that has, pardon the word, integrity to it? Or are you going to maybe sell out? Because when and if anybody in here does that, are what you're going to compromise if there's ever a void in the integrity issue. The choice to move forward, the choice to advance in this organization, advancement opportunities in this company, we cannot develop management personnel fast enough. We can't do it. We're growing that rapidly. So as a plea for management, I'd like to say, hang in there, gang. We need you. We really do. We want up here doing this with those that we're going to bring into this organization. But I can promise you everybody gets to sell out. And that's what loss. I don't know how much you can really talk about integrity. I mean, it's a nebulous topic to begin with. If I asked everybody in this room to write down a definition, there'd be as many different definitions as there are. It's okay. Because if at least you've got a definition as to what integrity means, that you know what it is, have it. But don't ever forget that the true judge of this company, of your sales division, of your sales unit, and of yourself are going to be the other people that you interact with. I'd like to thank the training department for allowing me to come here and just touch on this issue. I'd also like to do something else for you at this time. I deliberately tapered this thing off to about 35, 40 minutes because I really don't think I need to beat this issue to death. I don't think there's anybody in here who can't understand what I'm talking about. What I would like to do, though, is open this up to questions that you have. Not about integrity, or maybe about integrity, but you hear about this thing called the real world. And you got to see the real world for a week when you went back during mid-IST. Are there any questions that anybody has about what it's really like? Because I'd like to field them for you. You know, I'm taking off the formal hat right now, and we're going to make this informal from this point. Jackie.
Dale, I
it's a very good question. Jennifer knows right now what it is that I was looking for out of the first 5 weeks of this program. First and foremost, I'd like to see everybody that comes out of here have a very clear understanding of 4 things. How to do a copy sheet, how to do a contract, how to do a 1396, and to know the difference between a BLN and a 16U. Okay? Because I'll tell you something, if you come away with nothing more than those 4 things, and you know how to sell a little bit, you're going to do real good. But if you don't know how to do those things, especially on the paperwork side, this can be a real unfun experience because you're going to spend today doing yesterday's work the right way, putting off what you need to do today, and it gets to be a bad news catch-22. Okay? Oh, come on, kinds of things in your head. You don't know it all. And I'll tell you, that brings up a point. I don't know it all. Neat thing about this company. I get bored real easy. And I've been at DSM for over 6 years. And just as soon as you got it figured out, they changed something. All my life, we had yellow policy. All of a sudden, I get this thing in the mail basket that's blue. So they ran out of yellow paper. No big deal. And then I opened it up and it was different. And you got to relearn and re-educate all over again. This is a fantastic organization as far as staying stimulated. If you don't like change and you prefer things to be the way they always are, every single thing exactly the same way every single day, I'll ask you to do something. As soon as you get home, tell your DSM you're going to quit and go get yourself some Hoover vacuum cleaners and go sell them. And go door to door and talk to homemakers every day. I was going to say house people because there's not really housewives because there's house husbands home too now. Okay, what other kinds of questions do you have? Yes?
2 things. One is, what would a DM look for in a person as he's looking for in a position for a DSM? Second question is a DSM's job really all that bad? I've always heard people say, man, I wouldn't have that job for the world. There's so much paperwork and all that stuff.
Okay. 2 very good questions. Again, to address the first one, what does a division manager look for? If I were a division manager, I'll tell you what I'd look for. I would look for a sales representative who has developed enough competence in their job, who has demonstrated the ability to do the total job. And I'm not talking about just selling. I'm not talking about just being good at their paperwork, but do all the things. When it needs to be done, how it needs to be done, to the levels of expectations which I, as a responsible manager, would have clearly communicated to those people. If I can find an individual who can demonstrate that level of competence, I believe then I'd have a candidate. Now, nothing's 100%. You might have somebody that just absolutely hates to deal with people, doesn't like to talk to other people. So there you look for one other quality. And that quality is for the natural leader to rise out of the pack. And that happens by observation. A division manager or a DSM will normally identify their most likely candidates through the observation of that candidate's peers. I believe that the best judge of whether or not you're promotable is the people at your level. Because what I'll see happen is when they have a question, they'll turn to you. When they have a problem, they'll turn to you. It will show me that you are trusted and that the information that you have given these people before has been valuable, credible, legitimate, possessive of integrity, and that you've steered them in the right direction. And somebody that's willing to give of themselves and take away from their own responsibilities for a moment to help somebody else is certainly going to be an excellent management candidate. Second question about the DSM's job. Well, I've done it for 6 years, and the reason I'm not doing something else is because I'm having so much fun with it. Paperwork-wise, I guess it's like anything else. A job is what you make of it, and a function is what you make of it. I don't do a lot of paper. I don't move a lot of paper. As a matter of fact, I spend 1 hour and 35 minutes a week playing with paper, controlling the business. And I spend 38 hours and 25 minutes out of a 40-hour work week interacting with the people that I work with, either through indirect observation, direct observation, in-field coaching, getting out of their way, but watching. And I spend my time as a manager trying to understand every bit and piece of the people that I'm responsible for. Because, again, I have a slightly different philosophy. I guess it's based on the do something different theory. I don't really have a sales unit that works for me. I prefer to work for them. And they have a job to do, and I will not do that job for them, but I'll do everything that I can to work to unencumber them so that they can do that job. And if I can see that suddenly someone who I work with, maybe the corner of their eye, it doesn't have the little crackle in it, or their mouth is turned down, or the spring is not in the step that I normally see, I'll check it out, and I'll check it out right away. Because we're only going to be as good, and I'll only be as successful a manager as the people that I have